Hello everybody, welcome to this TechLab session, Managing Video Assets is Easier Than You Think, with Dan Brackett of Extreme Reach. Over to you, Dan.
Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Dan Brackett. I'm the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Extreme Reach. And I'd like to talk to you for a little bit today about managing video assets. And really, I want to talk to you about why you should think about going where the workflow is, and making sure that you think about rights and how they are incorporated into that asset plan, and make sure that you can connect those assets wherever they need to be utilized. So who is Extreme Reach? You may or may not have heard of us. Really, for over 12 years, we've been powering the video stories of major brands. And who've really trusted us as the stewards of their finished video assets. Our software and our services power and support many of the steps in the creative journey from concept to execution for those brands. We're early adopters of cloud computing, building a highly scalable and always-on platform that supports this end-to-end workflow throughout the creative lifecycle. So video has actually undergone a rapid proliferation over the past decade that we've been around. Once it was confined primarily to the TV set in your living room, it has since expanded to the web and now is really consumed in a tremendous number of different formats on a variety of different screens. And this expansion has brought with it real complexity. Lots of different workflows, different requirements, and so forth are involved. Now, video just by itself as an asset type comes with significant complexity that other types of assets, digital assets, don't. The combination of sight, sound, and motion requires a wide array of technical specs, different requirements, the bit rates, compression algorithms, codecs, audio channels in use, not to mention a myriad of different types of metadata associated with video. It's really multiple assets packaged into one. So there's a lot of details. It's complicated. There's lots of files, data rich, and so forth. So lots going on with video. Now, when you add to this the complex rights that are associated with video, from contractual arrangements with the performers that appear in the content to the use of licensed imagery or footage of music. And now you have an asset type that requires real expertise to be able to effectively utilize and really operationalize as it goes through the various work streams. But wait a second, I said it was going to be easy at the beginning, right? The fact is, it has to be. From the standpoint of a marketer or the agencies that work with them, it has to be simple. What they really care about is the ability to create great stories, share them with everyone who needs to participate in their campaign, and for those stories to reach their intended audience in pristine quality, and in the process not get whacked with a fine or a legal issue due to the misuse of some restricted rights. Really, when you boil it down, that's what these marketers want to do. Everything else is details, right? Now, while the primary focus is for marketers on the outcome of that video campaign, they also do care deeply about the efficiency, agility, return on investment, and they need systems and processes that allow them to achieve speed to market, speed in delivering their message. They need to be able to leverage video everywhere. Their audience, their customers are consuming video on many different screens, and they need to be able to easily reach them anywhere. They need to be able to control their assets. These are their sort of crown jewels of their creative production, and they want to make sure they have clear control over them, and also that they're realizing ROI from the production work that they're doing. They need to be precision compliance. They need to make sure that they're not violating any contractual arrangements that have been made. They also want to be able to optimize their creative. They want to have variations and different versions of creative that can be tailored to specific types of target audiences. And then all of this to be ready, at the ready for 365 days a year, 24/7. This is what they are really looking for in their video solution. And really, this comes down to a set of workflows that go into the production, management, curation, and delivery, and so forth of these assets. And the good news is that if you make wise choices in technology platforms and partnerships, you can take advantage of natural asset and metadata byproducts that result from many of the different workflows associated with creative production and execution. And that can help streamline operations and drive insights. So, as I previously mentioned, the real goal of a marketer's video campaign is to match the creative stories with the media moments that can deliver a compelling message to a target audience. That's the whole point of what they're doing. And this is accomplished through well-established workflows between marketers, production companies, agencies, in-house teams, regional marketing groups, and media companies. All of these parties working together, doing multiple steps along the way to allow them to achieve that goal of delivering the right message at the right moment. Now let's talk a little bit about these steps in some more detail. So early on in the production process, footage may be shot, may be developed, and may be working with specific performers, voiceover talent, securing rights to use licensed film footage and music and so forth. All of that is a whole process that produces artifacts and data that ultimately go into the finished asset. There's a creative asset management portion of this for curating and managing all the different elements that go in, tying that in with the talent and the rights and the terms and conditions of use of each of those pieces of content. Once assets are finished in post-production, then tying that into a set of instructions about where those assets should be delivered to. So trafficking that content out to television and digital properties, social media, out of home, all the different areas where video can appear now. There's linear TV delivery, which requires a whole specialized set of operational functions for trafficking, delivery, even aspects like network clearance, confirming that the content is suitable for use in the channel that it's going to be run on. Those all happen to meet the specifications of linear television broadcasts. There's digital video ad serving. So taking video that needs to run in digital properties, social or online video, mobile, and so forth, and automatically converting the video into the correct specifications to be played on a phone or played on a digital device or connected television. So these are really real-time, just-in-time serving of the ad content where it needs to be seen, as well as the ability to target specific types of creative to specific audience types. And then finally, once the delivery of that campaign is completed, making sure that all the elements are stored and archived correctly, and that anything that needs to be removed or destroyed is done, that content is pulled down from the channels where it was running when it has expired, when use is expired, and so forth. So all these different pieces, and I just sort of briefly summarized each of them here. The key, though, is all of these are interdependent processes. They're interdependent tasks. They link to each other. Data is passed from one step to the next to the next. And by incorporating all those workflow elements, the artifacts and the data that they produce, you are naturally creating an asset management platform and metadata that can be used to support other purposes. So what I'm really talking about is when you think about video asset management, it really is asset management embedded with workflow. All of the elements that we've talked about so far, including the ability to naturally ingest the content and quality control. So when the workflows are part of the system, you naturally get ingest. It's not something that is sort of a manual process to populate the asset management platform. The asset management platform naturally is loaded with content as a result of that natural ingest workflow. You get natural population of metadata, everything from all the talent and rights information up front and all of the information about the campaign, brand, and product details. All of that can flow in naturally as a result of the upfront production and even the trafficking process. Automated versioning that comes from creating tailored versions for different channels. Again, talent and rights being embedded directly with the asset, not as an external element, not as something that needs to be sourced or looked up from a different system. It's an integral part of what's been produced through the life cycle of that asset and living directly with it. The ability to have controls and permissions is critical in an asset management and workflow system that incorporates multiple parties, different agencies, different production companies, post houses, and media companies. Permissioning access is a natural element of that. That's what's happening as the asset moves through the different production phases and as it gets shared out to different channels, it is being controlled and permissioned appropriately along the way. Tying in physical storage is important too. Many of these elements are stored on hard drives, or they're even physical tapes that are kept in some cases. And being able to tie those back to the digital assets and being able to use that as an archival mechanism is important. Again, these are often byproducts of the processes that we've talked about already. Another important element is the reuse and tracking of return on investment when elements are used during the production process that produce finished content, and being able to tie that back and see when is reuse of asset elements saving money, when you're producing new content without having to reshoot and do new productions, which can be more expensive than recutting and reusing existing footage. And many brands are able to take advantage of this type of information and ready access to different physical and digital asset elements that can be used to produce new content. And finally, kind of table stakes for asset management is search and discovery. Having all of this information, all of these elements, all the different components that go into this process be readily accessible, having the data searchable or discoverable, and even more importantly, having it all linked together in a clean taxonomy. Even simple things like having standardized identifiers for assets as they move from one channel to another and as they move through the ecosystem help not only ensure that data is linked correctly through the workflow and making the workflow more efficient, but downstream analytics for brands can be much more effective when the same content used across different channels can all be clearly tied back to the same campaign, the same brand, the same product, the same time period, and so forth. Again, using standardized, clear identifiers and data taxonomies. That's something that shouldn't be overlooked, and that happens largely because of this, again, natural process, natural workflows all adhering to these different steps. So the bottom line is this is actually happening today. It's happening at scale. You might not realize it, but video asset management is an integral part of all the workflows that I've talked about. Millions of assets are being produced annually and ingested. Rich attribution is being applied via a lot of these standard workflow processes and throughout the entire creative work stream. This isn't something that has to be invented or developed. This is happening today. We're doing it at extreme reach with our Bridge platform and supporting all these different workflows, incorporating natural asset ingesting, metadata accumulation, and all through these standard processes. So rather than thinking about video asset management as a separate entity, a separate thing that needs to be built that stands on its own, you might want to think about going to where the work is flowing right now. leveraging the content and the data that are naturally produced through these processes, including, and very importantly, the critical rights information, connecting that data with partners, teams, and the media channels where that content ultimately is used. Really to realize that goal, to ultimately deliver the right message to the right time, at the right time to the right audience. This is what can be achieved when you integrate some of these different components together and connect the workflows, and then you leverage a platform that is able to offer these types of advanced capabilities. So with that, I'll wrap up. If you do have any questions, you can reach me in our booth, virtual booth, or the chats online. And thank you very much for your attention today, and enjoy the rest of the conference.